What's up? What's up, my friends, my peoples? First and foremost, I guess I will apologize for not doing videos. Reality took a big, swift kick right into my testicles, so I've kind of been out of the game and I've been on tilt this whole past week, so I'm just recouping. But enough of the pity train. So I apologize to everyone, as I always do. I didn't mean to not do any videos, I just had no drive to do any of them, and now here I am doing this. So, today I'm going to be covering UMG Chicago. I will not be doing the $500,000 Halo tournament just yet. In case you guys are just hearing about this for the first time in this video, Halo Waypoint has announced that they will be doing a $500,000 free-for-all tournament at some point. It's going to be online qualifiers, LAN qualifiers, a bunch of stuff, but all the information comes out July 1st, and I'm waiting until then to do anything. Right? I know normally a lot of people just want to get the information out there, but it would do a disservice to it, and I don't want it. All you need to know is that some people are pissed off that it's not 4v4, and they have their reasons, and other people are really happy that it's not 4v4 because they can't get a team. So it's two different sides of the spectrum. I'll be bringing to you both after July 1st. Probably July 1st I'll do it, but today we're going to talk about the top 16 teams. So, as always, I make my little mock bracket here. I do the top 16 for a reason because I don't think anyone in the top 16 can get upsetted. I know that it's happened in the past, but it's just not likely. When you get into the top 16, that's when you can start seeing some upsets happen, but even still, it's like, hey, it's still rare, right? It is. I mean, you can look at ranks and say like that's an upset, but if you actually pay attention to teams, they're not so much upsets. So, anyways, let's go ahead and go through this. So, right off the break here, we have Rain Ambush coming in as the first seed. Ambush, sponsored by Rain, which is a European organization. These guys are monsters. You know them. It's Pistola, Snipe Down Hines, and Formal with their coach Diesel, who everyone knows on Twitter because he doesn't know how to shut up. I love you, NASA, but it's just how it is. So Ambush is still yet to be tested already to this point, and it's getting to the point where everyone's kind of wondering who can take them down. In fact, it's funny that after Knoxville, I'm sitting down, we were doing our normal Sunday night shenanigans. I was talking to Enable, and Enable was basically saying that this God Squad's better than the God Squad in Halo Reach because these are the top four definitive players in the game. When they formed the team, they were the top four players in the game, period. And I said, Enable, dude, you're really saying this team's better than Roy Lunch, Ogre, and Ola? And he was like, yeah, those guys weren't the top four players at Halo Reach at the time. These guys were the top four players at the game at that time when they formed this team, so that's why I think it's better. So there's a lot of hype around this team, but the other thing is that they're consistent and they always show up to events and they're actually practicing and everything like that. So Rain Ambush always going to be a favorite going into the event, so no surprise here that I have them kind of just scooting through this first matchup they have. Well, first matchup in my tournament. The next one is BFK Puran Legendary. Now, Pure is a completely different team. If you guys remember what happened before the last event, it was like, what, Trey's grandmother had some kind of illness with her and that he wasn't able to make the event because of it, so the whole team disbanded, and I thought they were going to get back together, and I was super excited because I thought their team was actually really good. They had Spartan, they had Sir Siege, and then I think it was Hunter JJX, or, actually, I forget, but it doesn't matter. Anyways, they have this new team, okay? So the new team is going to consist of Trey, Hunter JJX, Straight Sick, and Alumni. I had no idea that this was even a team, to be honest. I haven't been paying attention to it because, you know, I'm not casting UMG, so I didn't have to prepare for it. I just have to prepare for AGL. So that's what I was doing. So everyone knows these teams in between, like, I don't know, seeds 5 through the rest always break up. So I didn't really worry about them. But so, their opponent is going to be Gamers for Christ Legendary. And if there's one thing you guys are noticing here, is that there's a lot of Gamers for Christ in this. And now I'm not taking a jab at them or anything. I just didn't know that they were that big of an organization where they can be playing for all these teams. If they are paying for these teams, and if they aren't, or if you know how that works, please let me know because I have no idea. But so Legendary is going to be Devin, Sargoth, Contra, and Crossfade. Now, right away, this team, it kind of jumps out at me. I'm like, okay. They have, it's a very, very unique because I know absolutely nothing about Contra and Crossfade. They're players who I'm sure have made an appearance, but I don't know enough about them. But even with Sargoth and Devon, I think they are going to be able to give Pure a run for their money. And the reason I say that is because I don't know how much faith I put in to Straight Sick and Elumnite. I mean, Elumnite, like, don't get me wrong, I love Elumnite to death. Like, he's a really, really good player, but he doesn't. He's been more into League of Legends than he has been in Halo. Although now that since the $500,000 tournament for free for all has been announced, maybe he cares more about the game now, and he's like done with the League of Legends. He's like, all right, it's not gonna happen. Right, games. I'm sorry, I wanted to make the LCS, but relax, ridiculous. Moving forward here, back to Halo, right? So in this matchup, I still. I'm still going to take Pierre in it. I think it's going to be a close one. I really do. And I think it's just going to come down to veteran experience. And the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is seeing how Trey is. When you normally miss an event, like I meant to send Snake Solstice a text message today, but I forgot to get back to him. And I was going to say, when you miss an event, dude, like, the world is completely different when you come back into it. Right? It like, really, really is. And what I mean by that is it's weird to get back into the swing of things, to get back into the tournament mentality, because normally you prepare for like 6 weeks, and the first 4 weeks are like you kind of just grinding, and then other than that, it's like you just kind of fucking around, right? The first 4 weeks are kind of like, you're trying to figure out your team, you're trying to do whatever you want with, your buddies, and you're trying to make a team, and blah, blah, blah. And you're not taking every game serious. Then the last 2 weeks, you're taking every game serious. Well, when you miss an event, you have like 8 to 12 weeks of just sitting there and kind of just fucking around. Right? Like, you're not taking every game serious because nothing's on the line at that time. So there's no reason for you to. And if you did, then you're obviously super dedicated, and I fucking salute you. I just don't see that happening for the majority of people, especially with Halo 4, and especially since there was definitely no good customs going on during AGLs, so you would be sitting there and you'd be stuck playing V3. And everyone knows V3 settings in Team Throwdown was just abysmal. But so I think Pierre is going to be able to pull this one out, and I think it'll be close. It'll be a good game, definitely to watch. So if anyone's paying attention out there and assuming neither of these teams don't get upsetted, Ghost, Bravo, Golden Boy, definitely throw this match up there because I think it's going to be one that's going to be worth seeing it. Moving down here, we do have Severance. Severance returning with their old school lineup here from AGL Nashville, actually. I want to say it's Gabriel, Aptitude, Proverb, and Showtime. Now, these guys are really good. Now, a lot of people are probably wondering, like, what the fuck's going on with Proverb? I thought he was in the Air Force. Well, I'm not here to discuss that, but basically he got medically discharged because of something with his ticker. It hasn't sent him on tilt at all in reality, in life. I have talked to him, I asked him about it, and he said, God's got a plan for me. He's a very, very religious guy, so, he can put his faith into that, and that's good for him. I'm glad he's back in the scene because he was a hell of a player. The last event he attended to, he won. Granted, it wasn't a humongous event, but regardless, it's still an event win, which is something that still best man to this day doesn't have. Nick, I love you, baby. So they're playing Excessive. Now, Excessive, I don't even know if you guys want me to read their names, but I know nothing about them. Just going to throw it out there. They're going to get erased. It's going to be a quick 3-0. Severance just going to kind of trot along here, and that's that. But talking about Severance here, just because I can, Severance, I think, is going... this is going to be kind of a warm-up tournament for them as well, because Proverb's kind of in the same boat. He didn't attend Knoxville, which everyone knows is Knoxville's probably been the most prestige event up to this point. So he didn't attend Knoxville. He ended up taking 4, maybe 6 weeks off from Halo, so now he's getting back all into the swing of things. So Proverb obviously is going to have a big X right on the back of his shirt. But I think, as the tournament progresses and things get better and better, I mean, he does have a great supporting cast with his teammates. Gabriel at Nashville, Gostayami looked at me and said, Gabriel is literally like 6 months advanced than everyone else with his decision making. Now, is that the case now? I don't know. I don't. Well, I mean, we'll be soon to find out, right? Like, that's the beauty of it. But so, Severance is definitely going to be a team to look out for this entire weekend, but I still think it's going to be a little bit of a warm-up for them. I think they're just going to try to sweep this one under the rug and get ready for Knoxville. Moving forward here, we're dropping right down the line to Pulse Classic. Pulse Classic, if you guys have been living underneath a fucking rock the size of a very, very large mountain. Classic has decided to part ways with Russo. Russo, awesome guy, great player. He is taking a small hiatus to focus on school and everything like that, but I think he actually is going to be competing in the free-for-all just because there's so much money on the line with this free-for-all, and that's why I'll talk about it later, I promise, but I'm just going to touch on it now. But so Russo got dropped for Roy. Okay, Roy, Instinct player. Before in Halo 3 and Halo Reach, he was on Instinct. He's won 5 events. He's gotten about 9 seconds. He's gotten a couple MVPs. He's really a jack of all trades. He made a splash in the Major League Gaming Pro Circuit in the 2007 season with 5K. 5K was a team who everyone knew was either going to get 4th or 5th. And but you know, 4th or 5th in Halo 2 was really, really good because it was kind of like the end of 07. It was kind of like the top 6 kind of all jumbled up. But 5K could never win those big matchups versus like Straight Rippin' or Final Boss. But they could beat, you know, like Agency, which is a team who could beat one of us. So it's very, very unique how that used to all work out. But so they picked up Roy, and a lot of people were saying, well, Roy hasn't even played this game. Like, why are they doing that? Well, Roy came back for like one day, and he was dropping bombs left and right, like 40s, 40 and 20, 38 and like 18, just crazy, crazy gameplay. And so he reached out to the members of Classic, and the members of Classic kind of said, you know, and I was talking to Mikwin at the time, and Gosayami has actually predicted Classic to win this event this weekend, even just for me for 2 weeks. And so I was sitting there talking to Mikwin, and I said, look, it's like this, man. It's fucking Roy with not being able to get D-scoped. Like, Roy is a freak. He is scary as hell. Even in Halo 3, you had to back down from him, and he could get D-scoped. Now that you can't get D-scoped, it's going to be very, very scary player. You're going to see people actually have to dart out. Will it happen this event? I don't know. That's the thing. I really don't know if it's going to be this event or it'll be the next one where Roy actually shines to this extent that I am talking about. But regardless, they pick up Roy. So already Classic Online sees a lot of success, but the only team they have a hard time with is Ambush. Now, when Ambush Online has been getting host, and Richie Hines has been getting host, he basically has a host box. And so it's very tough to, it's tough for teams to beat Ambush on LAN, so it's even tougher when you play them online and they get hosts as well. So that they didn't have the best of luck versus the members of Ambush. They got 10-2'd and 6-1 in their scrims. So Ambush still kind of up here, and in my opinion they still are, and everyone else kind of below them. But everyone else Classic went against, they did well on. They had a couple streaky nights and this and that, but they look really good going into this event. Now, are they going to have their best placing here? I don't know. It could be scary for them. I don't see them outside of the top 4. No way. I could see them outside of the top 3, and when we get closer to the bracket, I'll show you that. But so, I have them over 4Play. 4Play consists of Dren, Wanward, Sector, and Focus. Only one I even have an idea of who it is Sector. Other than that, I got no idea. So, moving down here, I'm going to go ahead and just throw Warriors 3-0 right over BTA, or 3-0 right over 4Play. Then we have BTH versus Swarm. Now, BTH and Swarm, these are two teams who, I have it as 3-1, and, you know, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, that's not going to be that good of a series, but that is definitely a series that if I was casting, I would want to have on the main stage, just because of the potential it has. Swarm is from Canada. They came to AGL Pittsburgh, and they got top 8. but they did have Sacrifice on their team instead of, one second, I think instead of Furion. I'm not 100%, but maybe. It's either Furion or Moniz that they didn't have at Pittsburgh, and so they dropped Sacrifice and they pick up one of them. So Swarm, they came in. The main thing I liked about Swarm is the fact that they have really, really good communication and they have good intensity. Burton is a very, very solid player. He plays with his sound all the way the fuck up. I put his headphones on for about 2 seconds and I wanted to fucking die. It's terrible. It's deafening. You want to avoid it as best you can, but sometimes it is what it is. Now on the other side, wearing red in this matchup is going to be Believe the Hype. Now Believe the Hype, you're going to see the exact same trio you've been seeing: Lethal, Maniac, Cloud. And now this trio is really unique, right? Because online it's like you don't know if they hate each other, if they like this game, if they want to be good at this game. Like, you have no fucking idea. Like, even when I talk to TJ, which is Lethal, I have no idea what goes through that kid's mind. Not a clue what the fuck. Not a clue. So, it's always interesting. But so they pick up a fourth player, and they decide, you know what? We're getting Ares. Now, Ares is a player who made his presence known in Halo 3 and Halo Reach. Very, very well-rounded player. Now, Ares actually outplaced BTH at the last event. He was on Team Slaughterhouse with Best Man and Neighbor and Regicide. And now this event, he's got picked up by BTH. Now, BTH only lost to Warriors and Classics. So they lost to the number 2, or they lost to the second or the third place team and the fourth place team. So, they didn't have it's not like they had any accidents. And the main thing with BTH is they shouldn't lose to, as long as they don't lose to a team that they shouldn't lose to, in my opinion, I think it's a win until they really start ironing things out, right? And I think Ares is a step in the right direction. Now, Ares is a very, very solid player. When I watched Slaughterhouse play Reality Check, he's amazing. He does a very, very good job communicating. His shot is very steady, and the main thing I have to say is that he's a great screen watcher. He called out he was calling out for Best Man as Best Man was playing and he was playing. So on LAN, you have your teams on one side, so you have 4 TVs right next to each other. So he's looking, he's playing and he's looking and he's calling out for Best Man and he's calling out for himself. Very, very, very impressive stuff. So BTH is a team I'm actually looking out for here, even though I don't have them placing the best just because of how this bracket worked out. I have them finishing top 6, which is something that if they finish anything lower than that, then they are going to be super depressed. So moving up here, obviously I'm going to have, I got BTH taking that one, and then we're going to drop down here. So Status Quo, which is also Gamers for Christ Status Quo, which I'm assuming is a new addition. I have them 3-0ing Reload After 4. Reload After 4 is going to be Illest, Shane Hex, Sniping Demon. Do I really need to read this off? You know what I mean? I mean, no disrespect. I've never heard of fucking any of them at all. I have. So that's kind of that. And then, so Status Quo should have no problem. This is the number 3 seed taking on the 14th seed. They should be able to just steamroll right onto that and move on to the next matchup. Coming down here, bottom is going to be Reality Check taking on Rapid. Now, Reality Check is a different team. They have actually kept a trio, though, so this is very, very good for the Suds. So Sud 1 and 2 and Absolutely have decided to stay together. And the reason I don't believe Monster was able to make it out to Chicago for various reasons. I know he's getting ready to start college, and excuse me. And I think it's his birthday weekend, or he's close to his birthday this weekend, something to that extent. So Monster couldn't go, and so instead who they pick up as someone that came out of complete right field is Elamite Warrior. Now everyone knows Elamite Warrior. Elamite Warrior is a national champion. He has 7 event wins alongside of me. He has 7 event wins. He is the U.S. champion, which a lot of people don't know. In Halo 3, there was a free-for-all tournament, and he was the U.S. champion. He got crowned that. Salute, huh? And so Elamite, this is going to be interesting for Elamite because Elamite hasn't really dropped to play with players like this before, and I'm not saying it's degrading to do that. It's just, you know, Sud 1 and 2 have more knowledge than Elamite, so Elamite actually has to tame his ego, right? Like, he actually has to put down what he believes is correct and listen to the Suds, because the Suds actually have played a lot of this game. They have not stopped playing. They tried to start their own league. They have sponsors, and you know what? They're doing them, and they have pretty decent placings so far. They haven't been outside of the top 8 in Halo 4, I don't believe. I'm pretty sure. So, you know, they have a pretty decent rap sheet. And at Nashville, they got top 6. At Knoxville, they got top 8. They lost to Slaughterhouse, which is a team they should not have lost to, but you know what? Sometimes best man and neighbor just say fucking no, bro. So Reality Check is definitely a team who I think is going to be good, but I don't see them losing. I don't see them beating Status Quo. So in this matchup right here, we see Status Quo and RC. I do have a 3-2. And the main reason I do have a 3-2 is not because I think Status Quo is bad. I just personally believe that our Reality Check comes out on fire on Saturdays. I've seen it happen. Reality Check is a team that you don't want to play on Saturdays. They are very, very tough. And I do believe they have Uncle Sud traveling with them, so they will have the crowd on their side, because Uncle Sud is a one-man wrecking machine. That's just how it is. That's the nature of the beast. It is. It's the nature of it. So I think Reality Check will be able to give them a run for their money, but I don't see them taking the series. And, you know, although it seems very, very close because it's 3-2, I think it's just going to go 1-1-1-1-1. Status Quo will take game 1, they'll take game 3, and they'll take game 5. I think that's how it'll go. Depending on what the game types are, though, I think Reality Check may actually have a chance to potentially upset, but Status Quo, they've been practicing online. They look really, really good. The one thing we do know about Status Quo from compared to every other team is that they're very, very methodical in their approaches. They have a rhyme to their reason. Or there's a reason to their rhyme. I don't know how the fuck to say that. Well, whatever, all right? They have a plan, which is something a lot of teams don't have. A lot of teams got to run in and wing it. So I think just based on the fact of their methodical approach, I have them taking it. Moving up here, Warriors taking on BTH. Warriors and BTH, now this is going to be a matchup that I really wish I could commentate. And the reason why I wish I could cast this is because there's going to be so much trash talk, man. There is going to be absurd. You have Lethal, Maniac, and Ares, right? Very, very vocal players taking on Ninja, APG, and and Goofy. I can't believe I laugh because when Goofy first made his presence on the scene, like I never would have thought he'd turn into this like vocal little trash talker, right? Like little Faisal talking trash to people. It's so weird to me. Like I remember him as this little, I mean he's still scrawny, but I remember him as this like little kid filled with life. Now he's like 20. It's crazy how fast time flies. But so it's going to be a very, very exciting match. It's also going to be a very, very vocal match. If there's one thing we know about Maniac is that we can expect anything, and we probably will see just about everything from him, especially if things are going his way. Now, Warriors has a very, very good practice regimen coming into this. Goofy and Ninja actually lived at the same house. Goofy was rooming with Ninja for the past 2 weeks since Knoxville. Everyone knows they only got a couple days of practice in before Knoxville, and now they have 2 solid weeks. They also got really, really good practice online. Very, very good. The one thing I am worried about it, and that's Ninja, if you're out there listening, or if someone could tweet him, is the fact that I was watching your stream and I realized you were getting hosted an awful fucking lot. So I really hope that your habits of turning around and challenging people gets put to rest, because on land you will die in some of those scenarios, my man. I know the power of the host is beautiful. And I know you can make people pay online, but you know what? You have to know when to turn that shit off, because those bad habits will get you fucked. They will make you single-handedly lose games. So I'm letting you know, my man, if that happens, you need to sit down, reevaluate, and say, I gotta stop. You can challenge. You have an amazing shot. That's irrefutable. What I'm saying is you gotta know when the fuck to back down. Host is very, very deceiving. Anywho, In this matchup, I think it's going to go. I think it's going to go to the distance. I think it's going to go to Game 5. And I think this is exactly where BTH just gets the fucking wind. Just knocked right out of them, man. Just clean out of them. They lose like 50-47, and they were so close to advancing. And they're just heartbroken, and Warriors is on top of the world. Right? Warriors pumped up. They're moving forward. And BTH is going downward. So that's how I see that happening up. Moving on up here, we do, even though, yeah, there we go. Look at this fucking thing. They give me this bullshit. I didn't even know I could go full screen. Now I'm pissed off. They give me all this nonsense, like fucking tweet out, share on Facebook. Just get the fuck out of here. I don't need all that shit. Moving up here, Classic taking on Severance. I think this is well, hold on. Let me just go ahead and get this out of the way. Rain Ambush taking on Pure. This is going to be a very, very simple 3-0. I don't think Pure has any chance at all versus Ambush. This is going to be a steamroll. This should be basically a walk in the park for Ambush to show off how scary they are before they play the winner of Severance and Classic. And the reason I say that is because, well, you can't fucking compete with these beasts. Like, a team like Pure they are outclassed on every level. They lose individual battles to Ambush, they lose communication, they lose team leadership, and they lose knowledge, and they lose coaching. They lost every single fucking battle. Period. Every battle is lost to Ambush. Right off the break. Before the game even starts. Ambush has won. And sure, you guys could say, oh man, you're just sucking the dick. I don't care. Fuck it. Prove me wrong, motherfucker. They're the ones who are undefeated. So anyway, back to reality here. Severance taking on Classic. Now, Severance, like I said, they do have, with the return of Proverb, I think it will be good, but I don't know how good it's going to make them. Keep in mind, the last event they went to was AGL Pittsburgh, which is AGL 6, and they got either 5th, 6th, or 7th, 8th. I'm not sure which one it was, but there was no reason for them to get the placing they did. They dropped Proverb at that event, and Proverb went and formed his own team. So, you got to be like, what the like, you drop him, he beats you, you get 5th, 6th, or 7th, 8th, like, what the hell's going on? Like, that should not have happened. And the same thing with Pure. Pure, that event, took, like, 4th, and they were, like, happy. They were super fucking ecstatic, when they should have been in the top 3. It should have been Severance, Pure, and then the team that Proverb was on, which I forget, I think it was Misfits, which consisted of Ninja, ABG, and Snipe Them. So there's no reason that BTH squad that played for 2 days should have even been in the top 2. Anyway, it doesn't fucking matter. So with that said, I think with the addition of Proverb, they're going to be a little bit better off, but I don't think it's going to change that much. This is... Now, I wouldn't say this is technically a real event because we kind of only have, well, I mean, it's about right. We have about 6 good teams coming out to this event where, Knoxville we probably had about 8. I would say the top 8 kind of solidified themselves from everyone else. But so, I think Classic is just really, really fundamentally sound now. With the addition of Roy, they've added more firepower, and 2, they've added a crowd support. They've also already won the hearts over of a lot of people who are just attending or people who are just Roy fanboys. So that's really big because, the mental game plays such a humongous factor in tournaments because, if you're a fucking crazy psycho like me and you have heard of noetic science, you know that thoughts could potentially contain mass, which then, if it contains mass, it could have the potential of altering an event. So positive thinking, you think positively, it can actually change an event. It's fucking crazy. I'm not here to talk about it right now because it's not the time or the place. But if you're like that, you know that positive thinking is only going to help you excel. So, moving on here. I have Classic 3-1 in Severance. Now, this is where we get into the fucking heavy hitters. We have this is the winner's bracket semifinals. We have Rain Ambush taking on Classic. Now you guys can already see it because it's right fucking here. Who I have in the winner's bracket finals, but I don't care. Ambush versus Classic, I put as a 3-0, and it's not because I thought that's what the series was going to be. I was just trying to pick a winner and talk about the different possibilities, but when I just picked a winner, it just said 3-0. So thank you, challenge bracket. So realistically here, I think it's Classic has everything to prove here, right? Like they have nothing to lose. They just added Roy. Roy, who hasn't played in 6 months, is playing a completely different game than when he played 6 months ago. He gets picked up on their team. They have everything to prove at this event, so they are the underdogs. They have that going for them. On the other side, they're going against the juggernauts, right? Ambush is a very, very scary team, and I think this is going to be this series right here is going to decide how scary Ambush really is, or how underpracticed Roy is. Like the storyline here is basically, can Roy compete at the top level after just 2 weeks? Like that's it. We all know he can compete at the top level. He wouldn't be a national champion if he couldn't. Like anyone who has ever won a national champion can compete at the top level when they put in the work. But the storyline is really, can Roy play at the same field as his old teammate Ola? Is Roy better than Ola? Is Ola better than Roy? They used to be on the God Squad together, and now they're both finding themselves on different teams because one quit and now one is coming back, right? Look at that. See, like there's so many fucking storylines here. And it's really awesome to see, but it's basically, will Classic be able to answer the call, or are they going to shit the bed? Now, personally, I think Classic may be able to take a game or two. It really, like at this stage in time for me, in regards to Ambush, you really need the game types on your side. You need a Station 9 as game 3, and you need to avoid Dispatch, Adrift, Abandoned Team Slayer, Haven Extraction. Yeah, you need to avoid those game types. If you avoid Dispatch, Adrift, Haven Extraction, did I say Abandoned Team Slayer? I don't know if I did, but if I didn't, Abandoned Team Slayer. If you avoid those game types, you have a relatively decent chance. You need Station 9 as game 3. You get Station 9 game 3, at least you're not going to get swept. And I say this as if like that's like their guaranteed loss. No, but it's the game that they seem to have the most struggling. They struggle the most with. So with that said, they absolutely need that to happen. They need that to happen. If they don't have a Station 9 and they're looking at a Haven Extraction game 3, and game 2 is Abandoned Team Slayer, and game 1's a Drift Capture Flag, it's a 3-0 and Rain Ambush just fucking walks out casually. I'm talking super casually. Like they're not even worried about it. Like they put their fucking controllers in a briefcase. Casual. But there is that potential, right? There is a chance that that Ambush, can drop a couple games, and we could see the upset. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying that if you were to tell me that I was going to say if you put a gun to my head, but that's way too extreme for what I'm trying to say here. If you gave me any odds, I would take Ambush 100%. There is no odd you could probably give me that I wouldn't pick Ambush in this series. I'm that confident in them. I just know. Now, dropping down to the lower half of the bracket here, we have Warriors taking on Status Quo. Now, this is going to be a humongous rematch from the previous event. Now, as everyone knows at maybe not everyone knows. Well, at AGL 7, which was our Knoxville event, Warriors played Status Quo. Now, the first 2 games that Warriors played Status Quo in, they fucking raped them. And I know rape is a sensitive word and everything like that, but I don't mean it in the way where a woman gets raped, right? Like, it's gamer lingo, deal with it, okay? I'm not here to fucking be politically correct because it's a part of my culture. So, they raped them. They beat them 50-32 on Simplex, and in the Capture the Flag, I think they won by 2 or 3 caps. It was all about Warriors those first 2 games. Game 3 was their best game type, and that's Station 9 Extraction. I saw it, and I was sitting in the crowd, and I said, well, or was I casting? I can't remember if I was casting or if I was in the crowd. Anyway, whether I was casting or not, doesn't matter. They are playing, they go to Station 9 Extraction. There's no reason for them to lose, and they lose. Like, Warriors is probably hands down the best team at Station 9 Extraction besides at this past event, where they lost it. I couldn't believe it. Now, I know they only lost it one time, but it's the most crucial time to lose it, period. But so, Warriors only had 2 days of real practice with their squad because Goofy was over in Pakistan, and I think that's going to completely change everything for this event. They've had 2 weeks of practicing, and I know Ninja's played a lot of Halo 3 in the past couple of days, but it doesn't matter. He's still shooting. In the game, it's not similar, but at least the controls are the same. It's not like he's playing walkie-talkie and in Halo 3 and then coming back here and playing bumper jumper. You know what I mean? Like, he's playing the similar settings. But so, I think Warriors is going to lose like one game to Status Quo, but I don't think they're going to let this one get out of their hands. I don't think they're going to let this one slip away at all. And the reason I say that is because Warriors doesn't want to lose to Status Quo. They should have beat them at the last event. If they would have beat them at the last event, we would have had a completely different tournament than what we had. But it's just not how it happened. So with that said, I honestly believe that Warriors, so right here in this matchup, they are prepared for this matchup. Are they prepared for this one? If they get there? I think so. Maybe. But really, they care about this one. They really do. This is kind of like when I did the bracket show of the last event before every fucking team disbanded. And by the way, you guys can all go fuck yourselves. You're pieces of shit. Fuck my whole bracket up. But so, like I said in the last one, like Classic was ready for Warriors. They were gunning for them almost. They wanted that matchup, and they got it with the right teams disbanding and everything all happening, all mumbo jumbo. And then at the event, it didn't happen because Severance backed out, because blah 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 blah. Just a bunch of crybabies everywhere. Everyone just dropping out. So Warriors knows that they're playing SQ. They know it. I think they're coming in hot for it too. So, I'm picking Warriors for the reasons I stated. Do I think Status Quo is good? Absolutely, yes. Of course I do. But I just don't think that I see Warriors coming up clutch. Now, going on into the Winners Bracket Finals here, this is going to be the rematch. Well, this is really Ninja versus Rain again. Ninja, Goofy, and Legit played the members of Ambush at AGL 5, where they took them to Game 5, but they also had a really good noob as their fourth. Now, there's a lot of different factors that can go in here. Like, you can look at it as they lost by 2 to 3 kills in the final game. They could have forced the second series, and we could have seen Warriors take them down. Okay? It's logical, and you're not wrong. On the other side, you could say, well, Warriors played all day Sunday, and Ambush sat on their ass for 7 hours waiting to play the main stage match, which started at midnight. Now, as a competitor, I can tell you, or as a retired competitor, I don't fucking compete anymore because I'm not good. Well, I'm okay, but it's the M2 monitor, not my style. But so, I can tell you that when you're waiting around for 2 or 3 hours, it's awful. Like, I remember, like, when I would win on Carvin, just throw it back to that, when we would win, like, the Winners Bracket Finals and we had to wait to the finals, it was tough. I mean, you're on cloud 9 because you're in the finals, so you're guaranteed top 2. And you're up in the series, but, like, when you're waiting around, it's tough, man. Like, mentally, it's tough to get your head back in the game. So the fact that Ambush was still able to pull that out was impressive. So, now there will be no excuses unless UMG is ranked completely shittily, which shittily is not a word, but I just made it up, so deal with it. I don't see that happening. I've heard a lot of good things about UMG, so I'm expecting to see a good ran event. And if they run it like shit, then I'll be the first to tell you. But I don't see it happening. So, anywho, I think Ambush, this is, every time Ambush plays a team, they're out to prove something, right? Like, when we watch them play Classic at this event, which will probably be tomorrow or Sunday, when you watch that matchup in the Winners Bracket semifinals, just pay close attention, because it's going to be scary. Like, when a team has a lot of hype, that's when the number one team says, why the fuck do they have all this hype? Why aren't we getting it? Who the fuck do they think they are? And they come out, man. They come out hard. It's just how the number one team's mentality works. It's a thing of art. It's beautiful. But you know what? Sometimes you come out flat, but that's not. I just don't see it happening. So, one, Ambush is going to prove that they're going to silence the classic fanboys, right? Assuming all goes according to my bracket. Then they have to worry about Warriors. Now, Warriors, all they wanted to do at the last event was play Ambush. They did. They were literally not looking over necessarily, but they were basically looking over every single team. You know, they were just ready for Ambush, but they never got there. They never did. So now this time they're going to get there, but you know what? They actually have to focus on other teams because our top four is pretty much locked in. It's going to be very hard for any team outside of the top four to break into it. But I still think, you know, I think it's like this for me. And it really, it doesn't make sense given my experience, but it goes like this. You have to test. The beast has to be tested before you can say they can be beaten, right? And, you know, like Ambush got tested at Knoxville, but like I almost don't even want to count it. Like Knoxville was the real one, right? Like Knoxville was it. And I think they dropped fucking 2 games, whatever it was. They haven't been tested yet. They really haven't, right? And I know people will say Nashville, but I'm going to say, well, you know what? Those teams all broke up, so now they still haven't been tested. Rest in pieces. Moving forward. I think you have to test Ambush first. Now, when I say that, it's like, oh, well, how can you say that given your experience? Well, you know, it's just my personal belief. I know, like, 06 Carbon dethroned Final Boss after Final Boss had been tested, though. They like 6-4'd a couple different teams throughout the 2006 season. So they had been taken kind of to the distance a little bit. They were 1 game shy of being taken to the distance. So it makes sense. They have been tested. You can see their weaknesses. Ambush, the only weakness we know as, you know, well, people in this community is that they kind of suck at Station 9. That's kind of it. That's all we know. Sadly, like that's it. We don't have anything else. So anyways, dropping on down here, this is going to be the losers bracket. I would cover all of it, but I don't want to. So coming in here, Severance for Swarm. I actually have Swarm beating Pure, and the reason I do is because I think that's like my one upset of the weekend. I think Swarm will be able to beat them. And the reason I do it, I just think they have better communication, and I think Burton's better individually skilled. But, you know, I could be wrong, because Elum Knight is very, very good. And if Pure does take that matchup here, I think they have a very, very good chance of beating Severance. So this bracket right here, with Pure versus TIC Swarm, I could easily see it going in favor of Pure. I'm just picking Swarm as my upset here. But I think if Pure does win this, they will beat Severance. And then they will get 3-0'd by SQ. Because that's just the way the world works. Coming on down here, BTH, I have them beating Legendary, and then Reality Check versus BTH. I want this matchup has to be online. It has to be. I know it may not happen just based on where it looks. This could be a late Saturday night matchup, but it has to be. It has to be streamed because it's just going to be so fucking good, dude. That's going to be so much trash talk. Elamite Warrior on Reality Check. A lot of people may not know this, but Elamite Warrior is a very, very big trash talker. It's subtle trash talk. He's just kind of says you're terrible, you're predictable, bad decision making. But those short, sweet, to the point ones are very, very good to get in your enemy's head. But I normally pride myself on my mental game, but I remember Elamite assassinated me, and he said predictable. And I was like, this motherfucker, dude. Like, how is that predictable? You spawn there, right? But as soon as you catch yourself saying, how is that predictable? You spawn there. You're fucked. Mental. You're there. He's in. He has inceptioned your mind. He is now Leonardo DiCaprio, and he is going to extract that briefcase. It's tough. It's tough luck, but that's just the nature of the beast. So it's going to be good. I have BTH winning that though. I don't think RC can. They can hang, yes, but I don't see them beating BTH. Now that's also a matchup, like I was saying, that where BTH actually, this is one of the matchups, like they should not lose the reality check. And as long as they don't lose the teams that they're not supposed to lose to, then they're fine. So moving on, this is going to be quarterfinals, loser bracket quarterfinals. We have Gamers for Christ Status Quo taking on Severance. I'm even kind of being a little bit generous here, giving Severance even one game. I think Status Quo should be able to just 3-0 them and just kind of fucking breeze through. This is going to be, it shouldn't be hard for them. Severance, they're kind of outclassed. But, you know, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. It all depends on what Status Quo shows up. You know, there's times where, I mean, just taking 2011 Halo Reach season, for example, Status Quo would show up to an event and win it, and then the next event they'd come out and get 7th. So it's, you know, it all comes down to that. Coming down here, we have 5th seeded Classic taking on BTH. I think this matchup is going to be super, super good. And the reason is because both teams kind of play the same. Lethal and McWin are kind of similar, whereas they always challenge, they never back down, and sometimes they put themselves in very, very shitty situations. So it's going to be kind of a clash of them, right? And then you have Ares, who, Ares is basically going to be the difference maker for this team. If Ares is playing the way he was on Slaughterhouse at Knoxville for this team, and his team steps up, I think they have a chance. But the problem is I don't think Maniac's good. I don't. Every time I watch Maniac play, I'm never like, That's how I am when I watch him. I'm like, You know what I mean? Like, I'm not impressed ever. Like, when I watch Cloud, like, there's times where I'm like, oh, shit, those are good shots. Lethal on land, I'm like, oh, shit, those are good shots. Ares, I'm like, oh, shit, those are really good shots. Like, you have great communication. Maniac, I have nothing positive to say. And it's not like I hate the guy. I mean, maybe I secretly hate the fucking guy, but I don't. I just, that's how it is. Like, I watch it play, and I'm like, meh, average. Like, that's 100% how it is. And I feel bad because I like Nick. I think he's fucking hilarious. He's probably the funniest person in the Halo community, but God, I just don't see it. So, anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and have Classic advance into that bracket, and then they're going to be taking on Status Quo. Now, I predicted via Twitter that I had Classic taking 4th and Status Quo taking 3rd, and it's a possibility. It really, really is. And now that I'm looking back on it, I realize I'm a jackass. But it's tough. It's really tough for me because I maybe personal bias, but you know, I'm buddies with, you know, the guys on Status Quo as well. So I have a hard time believing that Roy and the guys of Classic are going to lose to SQ. I just do. I don't know why. It's just in my head. I can't put my finger on it, and I have no reason to besides the fact that online scrims Classic kind of rolled them, right? And Classic rolled them, and that's all I have to fucking base it on, which sucks. It sucks. Like, if there's one thing we all know as a Halo community is that you can only take so much from online, and then, you know, you can take it another step further. Like, you can only take it so... You can only take so much, you can only read so much into it when they all go to a LAN. Some teams are more comfortable at a LAN. It's weird as shit. I've never had that problem in my life, but, you know, like Status Quo in 2008 was known as the basement team. So, same with 2009 until they started placing very well. So, you know what happens. But, you know, this one, I'll just shoot everyone straight here. I basically flipped the fucking coin. And I said, okay, Classic's taking it heads. And it was heads. I think that's what it's coming down to. I really do. And now this next matchup here in the Losers Bracket Finals is going to be brutal. Warriors vs. Classic. Now, I touched on it earlier on in this video. I said Classic, you know, they're the team at the last event. They were gunning for Warriors. They won their event when they beat Warriors in that Losers Bracket semifinals match. They did. They didn't give a shit anymore. They didn't. They cared, and they got 3-0'd by Status Quo. Then they came all the way back and they beat Warriors 3-0, and then they lost to Status Quo, I think 6-2 or something like that. They didn't care. They were so happy. They were so content. I mean, Mickey Poo, aka Mickwin, Maven and I call him Mickey Poo because we play video games outside of Halo and Halo with him, and we call him Mickey Poo. But so, he set multiple personal records. He got top 6, he got top 4, he got top 3. Those are very, very big accomplishments for him as a player. And, at a more prestige event, it's always good to set those personal records, and it's hard to not kind of feel content with that. Obviously, you want to keep striving, but it's neither here nor there. But what I'm trying to say is, at the last event, Classic was gunning for Warriors. They had everything to prove. Mickwin wanted to outshine Ninja. Ryan wanted to outshine everyone on Warriors because he just got dropped from that team. This event, they don't have that. They do not have that same spark. They have Roy picked up. They're like, oh yeah, we picked up Roy. He's a fucking monster. We think he may not be. Like can he come back? Like they have those questions running through their heads now. This event, they have so much hype about them that they're gunning for first, and everyone should be gunning for first. But they got a tough road. They got ambushed in the semifinals. So, but when I look at it, it's like Warriors got 3-0'd, but they should have 3-0'd Status Quo, and it should have been SQ Continuation Series versus Classic at the last event. That's what I personally believe should have happened. Warriors probably should have 3-0 or 3-1'd SQ at Knoxville, and then SQ would have beat Classic, putting them at 4th, and then there would have been a continuation series, and Warriors would have advanced again into the finals. That's how it should have worked in my mind, but it's not. Instead, we had second Status Quo, 3rd Classic, 4th Warriors. I think this is the event where things start coming more to reality. I think now with 2 full weeks of practice, as long as Ninja didn't develop those bad habits that I was so fucking afraid that he would develop because he was getting host all the time, I think they have a really good chance. I really do. I think there's starting to be a lot of pressure on APG. APG, everyone kind of remembers like that Haven Extraction game, that Game 3 versus Classic or Pulse, whatever you want to call them. People were like, why didn't you get the fucking extraction when he was yelling at you to, But on the other fucking flip side, though, was that Game 2 Team Slayer, Onyx Team Slayer, he had 20 kills. So it's like, you weigh the good with the bad. And they only lost by 2 kills. So someone on their team didn't do well, obviously. He had 20 fucking kills. So, I think there's starting to be a lot of pressure on him. But I think there's also, I know Legit is not happy. Legit is not happy with like a 4th place. He's not happy with a 2nd place. Even though he is the FFA winner at the previous event, there's no free for all at this event, which I don't know what the fuck happened to that. Sorry guys, I'm not a part of UMG. I'm not even casting for him. It's out of my hands. But so there's no FFA. So if he doesn't finish in the top 3, like he doesn't get any money. He doesn't make any money. Think about that. He doesn't make any money. Like, that's weird for Legit. It's going to be weird for him. So, he's gunning for it, right? Like, I don't see them getting outside of the top 2. I really don't. But so, with this matchup, I would say it's a lot about game types, but I think it's going to be more about momentum and who actually comes out. Like, Warriors is going to be a little bit... So, here's the difference, right? Like, when you lose the Winners Bracket Finals, especially if they get their asses handed to them like 3-0, they're going to be a little bit down and dejected on themselves because they're like, oh, fuck, we should have been able to win this. I don't know what the fuck happened. Whereas if Warriors, whereas the Status Quo or Classic is coming up and they're fucking just slaying everyone in the loser bracket and they're there, they have momentum. They have a lot of momentum. They come in, they're screaming, they're yelling, everything. They're hitting their shots because they're all warmed up. Warriors could come out flat. Warriors, for the love of God, for the sake of my predictions, they cannot screw up and come out flat. When they played Classic at the last event, I thought Ninja and Goofy weren't even playing. And, like, not individually skilled-wise, but, like, just communication-wise. Everyone knows when Ninja's into it and when Goofy's into it. They scream, they yell, they get really into it. Goofy wasn't screaming. Ninja wasn't. He was trying to just do as much as he could because there was a fucking rape train coming through that had no brakes called Classic. It was disgusting. So, with that said, I still think Warriors will be able to come out on top. But they just have to avoid getting down 2-0. They have to avoid getting down 2-0. They can lose the first game, and then they have to just look over and see that really good noob is still talking shit to them, and then they have to say, guys, I don't care if they pull them into a huddle, just, guys, for the love of God, we have to win this. I can't lose to Ryan Noob again. I just can't do it. It can't fucking happen. We dropped him. We got to beat him. Moving forward. Let's go. That's what they have to do. They have to rewind, reset, and just get their footing back, and I think they'll be okay. So that's going to do it for the loser bracket finals, and then in the finals, even though I put 6-3, I'm just not sure I'm not even sure if it'll go 6-3. Really, really not. I think, realistically, I could see it being 6-2. 6-2. I think Ambush... I just think Ambush is just going to be able to run away with this one again, man. I think until teams... I think it's going to take some shaking up. And I know it's never what you want to hear a commentator say, or you never want to, pros never want to hear say, and I'm sure a lot of people are saying I'm fucking retarded, but it's going to take some shaking up, or it's going to take Roy being really fucking good after this event to give Ambush run for their money, and I stand by that forever. I will stand by that, and it's so comical when people tell me, oh, Ambush is only good at maps on snipers. It's no, they're good at every map. Are they beatable? Yes. They are. Can Warriors beat them? Yes. Can Classic beat them? Yes. Can Status Quo beat them? No. Status Quo absolutely cannot beat Ambush. If we have a Status Quo Ambush finals, you might as well turn it off because Ambush is going to walk away with it. Status Quo is outclassed in every fucking category the same way that I said Pure was outclassed. They're outcoached, they're outmanned, they're outgunned, they're out-strategied, they're out-teamwork. Period. Only thing they have over the members of Ambush, which is still even debatable, is communication. That's the only thing they have. That's scary. So, if it's Status Quo and Ambush in the finals, just don't even bother. Just give up. But if it's Warriors or Classic in the finals, I think it's worth it. Warriors probably will give them the best run for their money, and it's just because of how they match up. They're both really, really fast teams. And that's another thing I wanted to touch on. With the Warriors and Classic matchup here, Roy, he's been playing for 2 weeks, and the situational awareness that you have to have when you're going against a team who's really fast and they're always in your fucking face and they're always pulling your flag and just getting behind you. Split-second decisions is what makes the world of difference, right? But Roy doesn't necessarily have that yet. Now, at least not from what I've seen. So, I think Warriors will be able to make them pay just because of that factor alone. And I think that's good. I think it's good for everything. I think Warriors needs the second place. I really do. I think everyone would like to see a Warriors Ambush finals to see kind of how they compete and battle it out. But at the end of the day, I got Ambush taking it, and that's that. I really do. So if any of you guys want to battle me in the bracket, feel free to make your own and send it to me. I'll check it out. I did give away the squid grip from the last one. It was some guy at the event. He said his bracket beat me. I checked it on Twitter, and it beat me. So I gave it to him, even though it was all fucking bullshit because Severance backed out. Other than that, make sure you guys tweet the stream. I will not be casting, unfortunately, neither will Maven. It will be Golden Boy Walshy and Ghost Ayami. So show them support. Remember, we're Team Halo. Ooh-rah, right? Huh? But other than that, that's going to do it. I love you, but I don't love you. Take it easy.